Hello and welcome to the show. I'm back on BeamNG Drive, taking more of your automation cars around the Autocross course. We start with something that looks like a rather terrifying Tesla. This comes from Ciudad. It is the Corenda RS200. All-wheel drive, flat 6 engine in this. It is actually the lightest car of the day, 808 kilos. Although 236 horsepower, 166 torque doesn't make it massively powerful. Not a bad power-to-weight ratio. It's likely to be quick through the corners. But, yeah, not the biggest power-to-weight ratio. It is one of the noisiest cars we have had, though. It is, I mean, the flat sixes are very loud. We have had flat sixes be very loud in the past. But yeah, this seems exceptionally noisy, but there we go. We will get off underway. No turbos to worry about in this car. I suspect it's already, pretty good around the corners. I suspect ultimately a little bit down on power might be the car's downfall. I'm actually getting some wheel spin out of the vehicle, which is unusual for an all-wheel drive car. It looks like it's more front wheel than rear wheel wheel spin. Now, it's possible, of course, with all-wheel drive you can adjust the characteristics, adjust the power distribution. It may be that this has got more power going to the front than to the rear, but it would be a first. Actually, there would be a first for cars in this series. Tends to be the crazy powerful all-wheel drive cars that will have any sort of skidding around come from, well, the back of the car. But there we go. What do we got? Straight line speed down here. Is a manual gearbox as well in this car. Ooh, nope. Almost went over. Almost binned it. About 75 miles an hour. Not too shabby. Yeah, manual gearbox means there is that little delay between shifts. Now, it's not going to cost you a huge number of seconds. However, there's that little delay every time you change gear. It's a pretty solid start for the car. 23-1. Considering we did very, very nearly roll the car, imagine back it into the... Wow, that's a sturdy wing. That is a sturdy wing indeed. Yeah, considering we very nearly rolled the car, considering we did a couple of dodgy things, there's a little bit more time to come out of the vehicle. I think certainly like a sub 20 or something would be pushing it. We've talked about before the advantages to incredibly light vehicles, and they are certainly one way to go. Even very low powered cars, if they are insanely light, are very quick around this sort of course. This kind of sits a little bit in the middle. It is light, yes, it is light. However, we have had cars with similar weight and a good 100, if not 200 more horsepower than it. So you have this, yeah, it can carry good speed through the corners. It's not going to quite challenge the very fastest vehicle, but that's okay. It's not a bad car to drive. As I said, it is just has a little bit of on-power understeer. Like through the corners itself, it's not a bad handling car. It does just take that little bit longer to change direction than we have seen from some cars in the past. Just slow you down here now. Don't clip the inside. There's a lot to actually be careful about on the roundabout. The banking can really throw off some cars. Certainly the higher riding cars, some of the SUVs and whatnot have been very close to rolling. This is a higher riding car, but it's not exactly an SUV. It's got grip. It's not going to grip roll. Ooh, not actually that much better, that one. I was expecting a little more from the car. 23-1. Again, where are we going to find time with this vehicle? That is the all-important question here. I'm not sure I've got too much I can do in terms of outright corner speed. I'm not sure I've got too much that I can do through here. We are kind of... Yeah, it's kind of almost maxed out with what I can get away with here. It's that front wheel drive, well, not front wheel drive, but front wheel spin that we are getting almost. I don't know if it's actually costing us that much time. It looks bad, and I think understeer through some of these corners just feel quite bad. It's not too shabby through there, although I am quite wide towards this next part. Can get away with that, just got to be careful you don't clip the... Well, you've got to be careful you don't clip the concrete anywhere around here, but certainly with that lapsing the barrier has actually caused grief for a number of cars. It's easy to try and get a little bit too close to it, especially if you're on a wonky line, or say you're wonky, you're on a different line previous, you suddenly end up in a place you aren't expecting, and you've got to make sure you have got the turn in correct. At 77, and we did still get stopped at the end of the straight, so it's average in terms of straight line speed, I would say. And one last big stop for the car. It's solid all round, nothing extraordinary either in terms of speed or in terms of awfulness. It's a better run, I thought it was going pretty well. 21.7, pretty damn good time around here, pretty solid time. Considering, as I said, power to weight ratio is okay, not outstanding though. That is, yeah, an okay but not outstanding time. The next vehicle to run through the course today is the most powerful contender coming from Animated Gaming. It is the Halpin Starlight, an all-wheel drive machine, turbocharged V8, 381 horsepower, weighs just 918 kilos. We've got pushrod suspension at the back, we've got big old tyres all around. I would potentially expect to see this go pretty fast. 918 kilos, 381 horsepower is, yes, it's pretty good. Now, if we've got the control to go with that, we might do well. I don't know if it's quite going to be enough to challenge the very top cars, although I'm never sure. Just looking at raw stats, it's never the whole story. We are pretty good around these corners. The brakes are pretty damn good as well. Well, he's braking just too early into some of these corners. We can definitely get away with a lot more. There was some wheel wobble from the front of the car, which is alarming. It's not quite happening in the braking zones. However, I think we should be able to get away with it. Normally, if there's going to have brake issues, it's going to have shown up by now. But if anything, I'm being a little bit cowardly. I'm actually braking a little bit early with this car. It has got some pretty damn good performance. There's a lot of juddering, everything's shaking there. Up towards 90 miles an hour is actually pretty damn fast for all of that. So understeer as we come off of the banking. What are we going to see in terms of a lap time for the car? It is going to be, as we weave our way through these final bits, it's going to be pretty good. It is pretty damn good indeed. An 18.2 for the car. That's fast. That's fast. Definitely with a little bit better run. If I can figure out my braking, this is looking pretty good. It's a very high revving V8 that we got in this. There we go. We did get it stopped. Gear ratios is something I haven't actually talked about for a couple of episodes. First car was pretty damn sensible in terms of gear ratios. This one here is also working. Second gear proving to be very nice out of these hairpins. There's plenty of get-go from the car. We can jump on the brakes. Now, I've got to be careful not to get carried away by the whole, yes, I think I can. First ride, I definitely think I could have got away with it being a bit later in a number of places, but we've still got to try and get the car slowed down. Yeah, this is a technical circuit. You're never going particularly fast. The fastest we've ever had a car run was 105, and even then, that didn't stop for the corner down the back straight. However, while yeah, you are only doing 50-60 miles an hour, your course is very, very short. Your braking zones are pretty damn tiny, so you really have got to get it absolutely spot on everywhere. Any inconsistencies or any problems certainly show up pretty damn quickly. When this is a over 90 mile an hour car down that back stretch, which is certainly nice to have that power when you need it, and run towards the finish line. It's a 17.4. We're going a little bit quicker. Now we need a 16.1 if we're going to go fastest. We need to go, well, quicker than a 16.1 if we are going to go fastest, and that is a tall order. That is a seriously fast lap time, stage time, run time, whatever you want to call it. There might have been a couple of places where I could have got a little bit more out of it. I'm not sure. Again, it's like, can I find a second in the car. That's a lot of time. That is a lot of time around a course as short as this. We'll give it a damn good go, but that is a fair chunk of time. Certainly on a run that, on the most part, was pretty good. The most part was, yeah, pretty solid. Now, let's try and I'll take a slightly different approach through here. Again, it's trying to slow the car down neater and tidier than we have done before. It was actually a little wobbly coming through the next corner, typically. Here I was very tight last time around. I could get away with getting on the power a little bit earlier. Again, it's another car where we are seeing that little bit of understeer. It's just creeping into some of these corners. It's like the more I'm pushing the car, this will tendency to understeer. It's a little bit of oversteer when you really dump the throttle. But, yeah, we'll just tendency to understeer. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing for me. I like a car to be planted. I don't mind the understeer so much. But it might just not quite have the same grip as some of the vehicles. Might not quite be able to carry the same speed. This is just to fly through the finish line. Fly through the finish line with a lot of speed and not a lot of control. We were flat up to the finish line bit. However, wasn't as good a run. Yeah, there were bits in all of them that were a tad scruffy. And a 17 is probably a pretty damn fair assessment of the vehicle. The third car to run through the course, well, might not have that much in the way of, well, kind of extras. That is because there are all mod fixtures, which I don't have. So when I had to export this one, there's nothing. So it does look a little bit strange. Anyway, this is built by GTA Izzy. It is the Atlantio concept. All-wheel drive V12 powered machine. 193 horsepower does make it the least powerful car of the day. 130 torque. Weighs 942 kilos. So, I mean, power to weight ratio wise, it is not great. I mean, it hasn't also got the crazy lightweight to fall back on, which is what a lot of cars, well, I say a lot of cars, it's what some cars have gone to. I mean, it's likely to be fairly good. Oh god, it's likely to be fairly good. And when we are understeer, it's likely to be, you know, an okay amount of speed, a decent amount of speed. It's probably not going to challenge the top cars. He's very understeery. Gear ratios incredibly short. Not actually helpful having too shorter gear ratios. While the sequential box, I presume in this, doesn't have to spam through gears to get to the sequential part. Yeah, the sequential box will mean that changing gears isn't going to cost you that time. It's still a lot of faffing around with the car that you have to do, and when you've only got a short amount of time to learn a car and learn a course, when you've only got 3 runs, the less faffing you have to worry about, the better, essentially. What are we going to see out of this in terms of straight line speed? Yeah, 76 miles an hour, so it's about on par with the first car, actually, that ran through the course, although that was 100 kilos lighter for when it came to the corners. I'm a little early on the brakes through all of that, as we are now going to set it up for that run across the finish line. Yeah, I mean, we're looking at fairly similar times. 22.8, so it's gone on the low 20s, 21s, 22s are probably what we're going to be seeing from this sort of car. Now, of course, there might potentially be some time. I think third gear's going to have to do out of here, isn't it? Third gear. Yeah, third gear works. No turbos to worry about. No turbo lag. We haven't really seen when I initially set out on this competition. When I initially set this competition up the way that I did, by limiting the engine size to 2 litre, I knew how much power you could get out of the cars. However, I knew also to do that, you tend to have really, really big turbos, and well, those big turbos can be quite laggy, and I was expecting to see more cars with, you know, horrendous turbo lag. We've had a couple of cars with horrendous turbo lag, but on the most part, most cars have been pretty, even the big turbocharged, even some of the big powerful ones, have been okay. As I said, there are some exceptions to that. Some have been very, very difficult to find a power band, but I expected a lot more. I expected turbo lag to play a much bigger part in this than it really has. If anything, we've had more cars with weird gear ratios, whether they be turboed or whether they be naturally aspirated, We've had more cars with either insanely short or, well, it's mostly insanely short. We've had a couple with quite long, but honestly, some of the longer gear ratios haven't actually been much of a problem. To a 21. That's actually doing pretty damn well. I gotta say, I was not expecting massive speed out of this car. We are talking mid-table here, yes, but the fact that this has ended up mid-table, I think, is pretty good going for it. It's not even like it's exquisite to drive. It is, I mean, quite understeery through a lot of these. Again, it's another car. It's quite understeery. It's planted, quite understeery. This does, again, feel like we are potentially struggling for time through some of these corners. You just gotta wait for the car. Now, that might be, to an extent, used to some of the very, very fast machines, how they can get turned, how they can tackle this course. And yeah, this is perhaps never quite going to be up with there. Maybe it's just the balancing feel. Like it's still got the grip. It's just it's feeling understeery and feeling a little sluggish, but it's certainly working in terms of putting a lap time together at the end of it. Oh, that's not going to help that lap time. That was a long time on two wheels as well. I mean, that might be the longest time on two wheels, kept it down without losing too much time in terms of a stage. I'm not sure that would make a very, very long title for an award. However, this car would probably be winning it. What are we going to do for the run towards the line? I was actually just slightly... Yeah, I think we actually went quicker. I think it was a 21.7 that last run. We did a 21.6. That, I can safely say, is a first. I don't think I've had a run go up, certainly not that far up on two wheels. I mean, it helps that it was at a slow part on the circuit, but that is a surprising car. Actually, I'm going to say that much. That is a surprising car for what is not particularly a huge amount of power and not very much torque whatsoever, to have got as fast as it did, and to have survived a two-wheel moment like it did. Well done. And our final car to run through the course is ready to assault our ears some more. Oh, it's not as noisy though. This is not a flat. This is not a. Well, it is a flat six. Actually, no. I was going to say the other one. I thought the other one was turbocharged. It isn't. I mean, either way, this car is from Damers. It is the Motica Auto Union Wasp rear-wheel drive machine. Heaviest car of the day at 1,102 kilos and relatively low on the old power front. 231 horsepower. 165 torque. Now that might not actually turn out to be a terrible thing for a rear-wheel drive car. Being a little bit more manageable in terms of power, we might see less of the oversteer. Or we might be entirely wrong and we might still see the car wiggle around. What's ultimately going to hamper the car, I feel, is, well, the weight. We've said about this before, and I know it sounds strange. 1,100 kilos is very light for a normal road-going car, but in this series, that's quite heavy. Also, this is, I'm pretty sure, just looking at those front tyres, not on the Super Slicks. Not Super Slicks, the Semi-Slicks. I mean, Super Slicks I would like. Can we get some Super Slicks on our cars? Oh, it's lost a wheel as well. That did not take much at all. I can't actually see because it's in the shadow. Turn around here. I can't see where the wheel ended up. Ooh, okay. So, we are a bit heavy, not massively powerful, rear-wheel drive, and have road-going tyres. Should be an interesting one. To be fair to the car, for what is running on, not optimum tyres, this did not feel bad coming around the corners. I did expect considerably worse grip through the turn. That's why initially when I saw the tread on the tyres, I just thought it was perhaps because the car was a little heavier, it was struggling around the corners, but no, that is a, pretty damn significant, I say, disadvantage. Again, we've seen this a few times with cars entered. Some vehicles are entered into this, not as a ultra serious competitor, but as a more, normal road car, if you like. And that's okay. You want to have some variety. You want to have some interesting an interesting selection of cars, and this is actually really quite good fun to drive. Ultimately, it's difficult to judge sometimes around the autocross course when it comes to understeer. We've been seeing a lot. You've been seeing a lot of it. You get stuck thinking of how some of the really fast cars drive, and it skews your judgment on the performance. I think I actually missed the. Missed this, or the upshift was missed. We will get around there, get on the power nice and early. Yeah, we're not going to be setting the leaderboard alight with our speed, but what are we going to see from the car, considering the tyres, considering the weight? 28 isn't too bad. Considering the tyres and weight, 28 isn't too bad. I definitely think there's a little bit more time in that car to come. We could get 27, maybe even down towards a 26 with a good run. With a rear-wheel drive car, I think we perhaps see a bit bigger variations, and we have got to make sure we don't get this one wrong. This is the final run for the vehicle, but yeah, with a car like this, it's easy to lose seconds a lap with just sliding the car around. It's very, very easy to lose large chunks of time with that back end wiggling. We don't want any back end wiggling from the car. Don't want to have the front wheel knocked off either as we go through here. So be a little bit careful. And that's going to be a big rear end wiggle. Although that's okay. I mean, it's not really cost us anything. We've wandered out. Well, we had kind of a big oversteer moment, but we were wandering out wide anyway. Still made the corner through there. Might cost us actually a little bit more time than the oversteer moment. Right, let's try and get a good run onto the backtrack. This is a very quiet flat six actually in comparison to the last one. I did turn my computer down slightly in preparation for running a flat six, but this is, yeah, I actually turned it back up after that first run, and this is yet nowhere near as loud as we normally see from flat sixes. Either way, as we wiggle our way towards the finish line, what is it going to be? 26.5. There we go. Said I wanted the 26. We got the 26. That's another car, actually, that has impressed me with its performance, considering. That's quite a lot of weight. 1,100 kilos is, again, in this series term, that's a decent amount of weight. Not a particularly powerful car. It's on road-going tyres. And a 26.5 is not a bad time at all. A 26.5 around this course is not a bad time at all. I think the front of the car is actually great looking vehicle. Not so sure about the rear, I'm going to be honest. Front of the car is a great looking car. Yeah, I mean, they've not been earth-shattering times, but I think there have been some very impressive performances. On to the results table, and again we have a change in the top 10. The Halpin will go into a 7th place with that 17.4, just fractionally beating out the LLA, a little bit down on the MDR RX. It is, as I said last time, it is actually starting now to get very, very crowded at the top of the table here. A few tenths of a second makes a very big difference. We go to the mid-table to find our next two vehicles that actually ended up right next to each other. The Corenda will go into a 51st place with its 21.7, while the amazing two-wheeled antics of the Atlantio will put it into 50th. I am amazed at that. I'm amazed that that run came out the fastest. And as I said, both of these, well, the Corenda perhaps a little bit more normal in terms of stats. The Atlantio I was not expecting to do massively well, all things considered. It was a little bit down, quite a lot down in terms of power, and heavier, in fact, than the Corenda. But yeah, that got some pretty damn good speed, and apparently amazing balancing skills. Now we do have to go a fair bit further down to find our final vehicle of the day. The Auto Union Wasp will go into a 91st place. Okay, it isn't the most impressive of times we have seen, but a 26.5 is still very respectable. And bear in mind here that the GT4, in which it is parked above, is all-wheel drive and also on normaler road tyres, not on semi-slicks either, considering the GT4 is considerably more powerful. Yeah, the Auto Union was a little bit on the heavier side, but Yeah, for a road-tired vehicle that was a little bit down in terms of power and a little bit heavier, that's actually a pretty damn good time. That, though, is going to be it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.